The Democrats still can't figure out why they lost. They're getting closer. I'll tell you the details of what they have discovered investigating their own polling data. And, folks, we have also some very heartwarming stories, such as in Italy. Look for this to happen here not too long. A push is being made for, have you heard about this? Menstrual cycle leave, as well as maternity leave. Don't doubt me on this. And it times right with that story last week that men can now have them. In the LGBT community, there are male menstrual cycles, so it all fits together here. Hey, one more question on the what-if game. What if there was intel that Donald Trump had been working with Reince Priebus to screw Ted Cruz and Jeb Bush out of the nomination? You know, you can barely find that story. It happened on the Democrat side. Hillary Clinton, Debbie Blabbermouth Schultz ran a scam to deny Bernie Sanders a Democrat nomination. The hacks, the Podesta emails prove it. They've never denied it. I don't even think they've apologized to crazy Bernie. Imagine if somebody discovered that Trump had worked with Priebus to do that on the Republican side. You wouldn't stop hearing about it. Those two stories would be all over the news, bigger than Watergate ever was. This is one of the biggest examples of media sleight of hand, this whole Trump-Russia thing that I have ever seen. Having more fun than a human being should be allowed to have Rush Limbaugh, your guiding light and excellent role model for the youths of America, behind the golden EIB microphone. Telephone number is 800-282-2882. From the Politico, Democrats burned by polling blind spot. As they investigate the forces behind the party's stunning losses in November, they are still doing their postmortems. Now, what they're doing now, by the way, they're inching closer, although they'll never get there, but they are inching closer to examining what really happened, which is that they lost. Now, they're never going to get there because they're never going to give up the notion that Trump cheated by colluding with Putin and the Russians. They don't really believe they would have lost if it hadn't been for that collusion. And they're out there, and this is part of the daily drive-by media soap opera and media sleight of hand, is the effort in the coverage of all of this intelligence news. That's the narrative and the foundation they keep pushing, that Trump is illegitimate. But deep down, they know it isn't true. But they would never admit this publicly because they've got their base wound up so tight and they've created such expectations. Their base, the Democrat base, really believes Trump's going to be impeached. Maxine Waters is out there talking on television last night how it's going to happen. They're going to impeach Trump. They're going to get in jail. Trump's going to end up going to jail. They've got their base thinking that this is very possible. So they're winding these people up and they're creating all these expectations, and they can't back off of them now and maintain any kind of decorum or order within the party. Their base genuinely is sick. You know, let me illustrate that this way. Are you aware of all of the talk from people like Bill Gates and Elon Musk and what's his name, Stephen Hawking, about the very real fear they have that artificial intelligence is going to wipe out humanity if we are not careful? Have you seen those stories? You have. Good. They're everywhere, folks, particularly if you spend any time reading tech news. Elon Musk and Bill Gates and Stephen Hawking are gods to techie millennial people. And whatever they say is, and so is Bill Nye the Science Guy, to show you how screwed up these kids are. These four people are infallible. They are as close to religious figures as millennial leftists will acknowledge. And they're out there daily warning of the dangers posed by artificial intelligence. Now, well, what's artificial intelligence? Well, think robots. I mean, basic artificial intelligence is Siri in your iPhone. or whatever they have at Google. What is it? Cortana? No, that's Microsoft. Alexis, the Amazon thing. All of these assistants in these various operating systems that you can talk to, dictate to, ask to find you things. That's a very, very rudimentary artificial intelligence. But it's being invested in daily. It's being explored. It's being expanded. Self-driving cars, like Uber's had a couple of crashes lately. I don't understand this. Who in their right mind right now would put a self-driving car out there with passengers in it, literally in traffic? We're not there yet. But we're on the way. And these are people that want us to get there so that you get in your car and you don't have to drive because your car can stop at every stoplight, see every stop sign, avoid every pedestrian, avoid every potential accident, drive at the right speed at all times, massive, massive amounts of data in software to make this happen. That is artificial intelligence. And when you get into robotics, and I don't mean butler and servant and waiter, waitress kind of robotics, but real robotics that takes over some jobs and leaves people forever unemployed. Because the robots never get sick. They never have to have leave for menstrual cycles unless you build a menstrual cycle into your robot. I'm not making that up, by the way. There actually has been proposed in Italy. Hang on, I'll give you the detail. Menstrual cycle leave. You know, every time you think the left has reached the limit, you have to realize there isn't any limit when you're talking about deranged insanity and lunacy. Well, here's what I'm most afraid of. You know, sometimes I watch Tucker Carlson's show on Fox at 9 o'clock, and Tucker's format is indeed unique. Tucker, in either his first or second segment, will have on a liberal closely associated with whatever news or controversy of the day is. If it's something going on in college campuses, he'll find an eager beaver spokesman to come on and defend it. If it happens, whatever it is, he'll find, and usually these are millennials, sometimes in their 40s, he gets these liberals on, and it's fascinating to watch. They're all products of universities. They're all so-called educated people with degrees, and it is amazing how they are incapable of original thought. In practically every interview of this type that Tucker Carlson does, his guests are simply reciting a single study that proves their point, that has been drilled into them by a professor or by a fellow activist. They do not literally hear what Tucker Carlson says. They hear buzzwords that connect with the knee-jerk reaction they've been programmed with, and it's a fascinating thing to watch. We already have robotics. My point is, we've already got artificial intelligence. It's called liberalism. The real people we should be afraid of in the world today are the people universities are churning out. And you can see examples of it every night with Tucker Carlson. You can see it in the comment section at Twitter, at Facebook. You can see these people everywhere. They're the most arrogant, condescending excrement holes you have ever engaged, and they don't know anything. But they think they do. They think they know everything. They think they're smarter than you are. They think you're stupid to boot. In addition to them being smart, they're smug and they are condescending, but they don't know anything. They have not been taught anything. They have been indoctrinated. They have been propagandized. And it's fascinating to watch. And that's artificial intelligence. These people are the genuine robots in our society today. These are the mind-numbed robots that American education has been churning out, in the case of millennials, since daycare. I saw this analogy the other day, and it makes perfect sense, even though I never went to daycare, as my parents would not have sent me there, even if it had existed when I was a kid. My mother would no more farm me out to a bunch of strangers, even if they did know them in a small little town. There's no way she would have farmed me out. Maybe my brother, but not me. And maybe he was. I was too young to remember. No, we were neither of us farmed out to daycare. But if you take a look at these millennials, these snowflakes that cannot genuinely cannot handle, they cannot emotionally, intellectually deal with people that disagree with them. It's daycare. You're looking at 18 to 21, 24-year-olds who have not progressed beyond daycare. And in daycare, you're protected and cared for like the 3 or 4-year-old that you are. You don't know squat. You don't know anything. Your mind's a skull full of mush. You got these so-called teachers, whatever they call them at daycare, bending and molding and flaking and forming these young little brains. And this is the end result we get. And they are not learning critical thinking. They're not learning any thinking. They are sponges. They are mind-numbed robots. They're soaking it all up. That's the artificial intelligence that worries me. That's the robotics that worries me. Not whatever is happening in the world of high-tech robotics. This business of the machines devouring humanity and taking over humanity, that's been part of science fiction since the beginning of science fiction. Have you ever stopped? Look at the Matrix movies. For those of you who have not seen them, how best to describe this? The Matrix is a giant computer program. And we're not real. We are computer software, bits and pieces created by the super intelligence in the machines to entertain them. So cancer isn't real, death isn't real because we aren't. Deja vu, the experience where you think you've been there before, is a glitch in the computer. Deja vu is considered to be a computer glitch in the Matrix machine. Nothing's real. Do you know how many stories in the last 6 months I have read written by millennial tech people who think we are actually not real and are living in a giant computer program put together by superior beings and machines, and all of this is being done to test us, to entertain them? It's not a mass movement, not majority, but there are enough of these young people that believe this to give you an indication of how they're being educated. And this whole idea that the machines are going to take over. Liberalism is, in one sense, a series of conflicts and contradictions. On the one hand, the animal rights people will say a man is a mouse, is a titmouse, is a frog, meaning we're no different than the lowest forms of animal life. On the other hand, we're so damn superior we can destroy it all simply by our existence. Climate change. On the one hand, we're all capable of being controlled by a central government because none of us are capable of running our own lives. None of us are capable of doing the right thing by everybody else. None of us have the requisite amount of compassion. So we will not be as charitable on our own as a collectivist government would enforce upon us. So on the one hand, we're despicable, we're selfish, we're stupid. On the other hand, there are really smart people capable of inventing machines that will devour us. The conflicts that exist in liberalism confuse the people that believe in this stuff. I can tell you that not once in my life have I spent a microsecond worrying about whether or not machines are going to take over my life or devour me. Bill Gates, Stephen Hawking, Elon Musk, it seems it's the rage. The rage of today is the panic that artificial intelligence, we got to get a handle on it right now. We better start doing legislation. That means laws in Congress. We better start limiting what AI can do. Otherwise, it's going to devour us. This is an accepted scientific reality that we can't compete with the machines that we would invent. We can't compete and survive a war against the machines that we invent and create and program. What must life be like if you believe things like this? to think so little of yourself, and then at the same time think you're better and smarter than everybody else. My point is, don't worry about AI. Don't worry about Siri taking control of your car and driving you off a cliff. Don't worry about any of that. Worry about the artificial intelligence, the artificial education, and the mind-numbed robots that American education is creating today.